Hello, my name is Amber, and this is my July wrap-up. Now, the Biannual Bibliothon was this month. I did participate in just the reading challenges. Now, I did do a few videos of my reading process throughout the Biannual Bibliothon and a couple of small things that I plan on putting together and hopefully having up on this channel soon if it's not already, but I will have it linked down below. Now, the first book I read this month was Fates and Furies by Renee Wagner. This is the fourth and final book in the Curse of the Sphinx series. I was part of Renee Wagner's launch team for the series. Really enjoyed being able to read the series. I loved every book in it. I gave this one 4 out of 5 stars. I think it was a fantastic conclusion to the story. It really wraps up everything really well in my opinion. If you don't know, Curse of the Sphinx is about a girl named Hope, and she is actually cursed. In every certain amount of time period, she turns into a sphinx. This is basically her story and her journey, learning about her past and learning about her family and figuring out a way to kind of break this curse. It's a really fun, really fast series. They're very easy books to get into, and if you love mythology, I think you'll really enjoy this series. Next, I picked up A Beast and Beauty by Stacey J. I got this through a book outlet haul, which I actually have a video of, which I will have linked down below. When I originally got this, I automatically wanted to pick it up. It is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, and I had had my eye on Stacey J's books for the longest time, so when I finally picked this up and read it, I was extremely excited to get into it. And while I did enjoy this, I definitely did have some issues with it. It is a standalone, so it's very quick. There's a lot of things that aren't really explained well. I just feel like this would have been a lot better if it was multiple books. Even just 2 books, I feel like things would have flowed a little bit better. I didn't expect it to get as weird and twisted and dark by the end as it did, but it's definitely a weird retelling. I did really enjoy it. I think the characters were really interesting, and it's such a weird world and weird magic that you kind of just keep wanting to learn more about what's going on. If you don't know, this is a story about 2 different races. It is the monstrous and the smooth skin. I think I'm saying that right if I'm remembering correctly. But our beauty in this is a princess who happens to be blind, and she's a smooth skin. She runs into a monstrous who is our beast in the story and ends up having to work with him, and they kind of form a bond and get to know each other better. Again, it was a lot of fun. It was really interesting, and I did enjoy it. I just didn't love it as much as I was hoping I would, but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. Next, I picked up Dune by Carrie Corp and Lori Langdon. This is one that I've seen everywhere, and I haven't heard a ton about it, but when I kept seeing the cover, I eventually just said, fine, I'm getting it. I picked it up this month and I loved it. I am so glad that I read this because it was fantastic, and I loved the characters so much, and I cannot wait to continue on with this series and see what happens in the next book, because I think there's 4 books in this series, if I'm not mistaken, so I'm hoping to be able to pick those up soon. But this is supposed to be kind of a retelling of Brigadoon, which I had actually known nothing about until I read this, but I absolutely loved this. I really cannot wait to find the next book, and I did end up giving this 5 stars. Next, I read volumes 3 through 8 of Buffy the Vampire Slayer season 8. I'm a giant Buffy fan, but for some odd reason I just kept putting these off. I had only read 1 and 2 a few years back and just never finished them. Because it was the Biannual Bibliothon, I had decided to make one of these part of that TBR. Between my time of finishing Dune and the Biannual Bibliothon starting, I didn't want to start something that I wasn't going to be able to finish in enough time. So I ended up just picking up 3 and seeing what would happen, and I ended up reading 3 through 7 before the Biannual Bibliothon even started. I did enjoy these. I love little nods to old things that if you don't know the show, you will not get, but this did get really weird in some places. I get the fact that it was kind of one of those things where you can't do some things in a show, so they did it in this, and I get that, but it really sometimes made it feel like it wasn't Buffy and it was a completely different story. Besides all of that, even though it was a little strange, you definitely have to be prepared for that weirdness if you're a Buffy fan. I did really enjoy these, and I thought they were a lot of fun, and I ended up giving all of them 5 stars because it's Buffy, come on. The last 2 were part of the Biannual Bibliothon TBR for me. First, I have Hunger Games by Suzanne Collins. Yes, finally, after so long, I have finished this book. I started this book sometime before the first movie came out because I remember seeing the trailers for it, and I had planned on trying to read the first book before the movie came out. I got a little bit in and then I never finished it. Now, after all this time of it sitting there being half read, I finished this book. I think I was nervous to get into this because of the fact that 1, I had already seen all the movies, so I knew a decent amount of what happens, and 2, this is such a big series. This is such a huge hyped series that everyone knows, everyone's talked about. When I started reading it, I was thoroughly shocked with how much I was into it and how much I was just drawn to the story. Even though I already knew what was happening and I wasn't surprised by anything, I was still tensed up and stressed out and worried about what was going to happen, even though I knew it was going to happen. So I ended up giving this 5 stars. And the last book that I read this month was Sweet Evil by Wendy Higgins. The day that I'm filming this, I actually just finished this last night at around 2:30 in the morning. I was up way too long reading this, but I could not put it down. It was so easy for me to want to continue reading this. I thoroughly enjoyed the story. It is the typical paranormal romance YA, and I loved it for that. This is one of those series that I had seen everywhere and kind of just kept putting off, but I eventually picked up the first one and finally got to it this month, and I'm so glad I did. I'm really glad that I read this because I loved it. I'm a huge fan of the whole angel demon aspect in YA books. I've really enjoyed that and I've read a few, but it's been such a long time, so it was really great being able to do that again in this. I love seeing different people's thoughts on what angels and demons would really be like. Thoroughly enjoyed this. Cannot wait to get the rest of the series. I'm just so excited to see what's gonna happen next. I ended up giving this 5 stars. Okay, so those are all the books that I read in the month of July. As always, let me know what you read this month down in the comments. I hope you enjoyed this video and I'll see you guys next time.